Truth is not always binary. Truth can be a spectrum, and sometimes things can be true and false at the same time. The Philosopher's Stone as a God equation can be applied to many things, also to social relationships and dating. I use the terms incel and simp here, which are primarily used for men who either blindly chase women or are too dismissive of them. However, these are archetypes and therefore apply not only to men, but also to women. The more naive and selfless one is, the more one can be exploited, and the more one bends too much for a partner who doesn't fit. If one is too dismissive, it will be difficult to find a partner in general. This means that the further one moves away from the center, the less likely it is to build a healthy and harmonious relationship. In a dual relationship, one individual is narcissistically dominating and the other partner is completely submissive and afraid to express his or her own interests. One individual then completely abandons the self. One part then allows no criticism, has no respect for the partner, and in extreme cases even uses physical violence. This is the same pattern as the relationship of the population to a totalitarian state, where the population is frightened into not saying what they think. In every political propaganda, it is about keeping people away from the sacred masculine element. A sacred relationship is not about everyone being static and exactly in the middle. Polarity is not the same as absolute neutrality. It is natural that individuals deviate in both directions. These mental archetypes are associated with the biological genders because women tend to lean towards the feminine principle and men towards the masculine. This means that most men have their nature in a dominant, rational and stability-giving role, while women tend to lean towards a subordinate, emotional and caring role. However, it is not dual because every healthy mind is a synthesis of the feminine and masculine principle. Men tend to serve the sacred masculine as the primary element and the sacred feminine as the secondary element. With women, it is the other way around. This creates a harmony in a conservative but very natural synthesis of a classical distribution of roles, which happens naturally out of itself and nobody pretends, because the deviations from the center complement each other. Recognizing this harmony and living according to it is not sexist either. Sexism arises when a mind deviates from this, and it is not culturally permitted. It is natural that in the sum of many people there are women who feel more comfortable in the masculine role, and men who feel more comfortable in the feminine role. This also harmonizes with each other in a natural synthesis. So it is not primarily about man and woman, but at most as a tendency. These role distributions can change individually and depend on the situation. A mother protects her children with violence, and men have emotions and empathy as well. As I said, it's only about tendencies and probabilities. The complementary views of the two genders at the esoteric world are a suitable aspect for this video. The masculine view is how I primarily look at esoteric and mind. Pretty much everything is reduced to cold math and logical processes. A cold and dead land of unchanging archetypes and lifeless equations. Men tend to think that the feminine view at the nature of the mind is irrational, because it often involves healing stones and esoteric fantasies about home decoration. However, if you compare a cold, empty room without windows with a beautifully decorated and arranged environment, it is easy to see that they are destructive and harmonizing environments. These effects are not perceived rationally but intuitively. A mind that is primarily in the feminine principle is better able to recognize such harmonies. Aesthetics are an important part of improving well-being, but it can become a disguise when it is detached from the element of authenticity. Relationships are also influenced by the moral and social cycle. If society becomes more and more static, the classical family is superfluous and people enter into relationships primarily for sexuality. They can live out their drives without consequences and then have countless partners and polygamous relationships. The static age ends in the worst case with war and many dead men who go to war. So it happens that men have several wives in and after such times of crisis, in order to rebuild the population. In a harmonious society in a golden age, there is more room for true love and monogamy, which leads to stable families. The external elements as living conditions lead to polygamy and the inner elements to monogamy.
I wander the streets, avoiding their meats, till the ring on my finger slips to the ground. A gift to the gutter, a gift to the city, veins of which have broken me down, and I don't believe him. Morning is mocking me. Oh, the gods that he believes never fail to amaze me. You believe in the love of your God of all things, but I find you wrapped up in all manner of sins. The drugs that deceive you and the girls that believe you. I can't control you, I don't know you well. These are the reasons I think that you're ill. I can't control you, I don't know you well. These are the reasons I think that I'm ill. And since last that I saw him, last that we parted down by a river, silent and hardened, morning was mocking us, blood hit the sky. I was just happy, my mannequin eyes couldn't see me, the sun was in his eyes, and birds were singing to calm us down. And birds were singing to calm